On this episode, I show off a project I've been working on for almost a year.
Dome Runners TV, your guide to the Underhive and beyond.
Hey there, scabby scummers and gangers, Crimson Oracle here with another episode of Dome Runners TV. Today I'm going to be taking something of a victory lap as I have completed a project that was one of the very first things that I showed off on this channel. That is to say, I have finally completed the Grillet box that I have been working on for the last 11 months. I teased the box on October 31st as the completed project for Inktober, but I wanted to do, a more fulsome video. And I'm going to recap some of the details from the first video because, like I said, it was one of the first 3 videos I put on the channel. And as a result, it has not had nearly as many viewers as a lot of my later stuff. So I am very proud of this project. It was a lot of work, and I definitely stalled out pretty hard at about the 80% mark, as is a common trait for those of us who have certain neurodivergences. So I finally got it done, and I'm really happy to show it off. I haven't actually had a chance to play on it, and there's a few things I'd like to do to finish it off and polish it up, but fundamentally, this is it. This is the deal. We've got finally the Grillet box ready to roll, and well, here is the making of. Now, I went over a lot of this in my original video. In fact, I'm reusing a lot of that footage, but I found this case on the side of the road, and I went ahead and decided to restore it. It was in pretty rough shape. As you can see here, it was previously a record player with built-in speakers on the doors, and I went ahead and gutted out all of the actual functional parts on the inside, and that left me with the shell, which was in pretty rough shape. Again, you can watch the original video I did for a more fulsome discussion of the process I went through here. And that left me with a very useful and large box, which was exactly what I was looking for. Unfortunately, it had some damage, so I had to do a whole bunch of stuff to try to restore the, fiberboard as much as possible. There was a lot of sanding, there was a lot of patching, and it was definitely a lot of work, but it was worth it in the end because these kinds of boxes just are not easy to find anymore. And so when one falls into your lap, you just kind of have to make do with what you got. Thankfully, I'm going to be rebuilding most of the interior, and that will be giving it a certain amount of strength from the additional materials on the inside. For example, there will be essentially a new interior brace that holds all the sides together when I add the bottom level of the actual terrain that I'm building. Once I got all of it properly secured, it was time to actually start printing. So I put together a plan for what I would 3D print. The war layer terrain was absolutely perfect for this job thanks to the grid. And I put in, like I said, that bottom shelf and started the process. Now, I went ahead and hopped on Redbubble and bought a bunch of stickers that I thought would be appropriate for this particular project and continued to build up. I detailed the bottom of the case as sort of a sump bottom, and then I went ahead and started getting everything painted. I used 3D printed floors to make the leaves that fold down and then hinges from the hardware store. It was an easy build, and they screwed into that base wood very, very simply. And as you can see, things really started to take shape. For the bottom, I used a clear caulk as the water surface. It's a nice, durable way of doing it, and if you spray it with a clear green paint from the airbrush, I find that works pretty well to give it a nice deep green kind of color. Obviously I did green underneath as well. And then in some of the areas with white caps, I went ahead and dry brushed on some white paint as well. It was really important to me that every level had lighting, so I went ahead and installed that in every part of the main box. I may go back and add lights into the doors as well. And as you can see, I of course used a bunch of patching in order to fill in and more integrate the wooden bases of the doors, and things went really smoothly from there. I was pretty much on my way to finishing the box, and then I hit the top level and I realized that things were starting to not fit quite right because the interior of the box wasn't a square, and I was thinking of it as being largely square. So I wound up having to do a bunch of trimming, and there was just a lot of kind of effort involved in getting the top part of the case together, and that ended up resulting in the project sprawling out to last 11 months in the end. As you can see, having to trim things back because the case is not a perfect square. But with the open space entry being up in the air for me for the Inktober competition, I decided it was time to finally finish. And there we have it, the final version of the Grillet box. Enjoy.
If you like the show, like and subscribe, and don't forget to check us out on Patreon. For $2 a month you can help support the show.
And of course, you know, getting all of this done, I am now in possession of a fantastic opportunity to, you know, take background shots. It also makes a great backdrop for a game board itself. So if you had like a game mat, a 4x4 game mat, you know, that you laid down, you could put the box behind it, and that would provide, you know, a great backdrop for playing your game and getting those great cinematic photos. As well, it is a very playable surface. It can be opened, you know, part way and used as a sort of enclosed tight space for playing in. Probably better for Inquisitor 28 than Necromunda, but you know, you could really get away with anything with enough barriers and barricades. It might be a little more reasonable. And then of course, if you open it all the way, the doors allow you to, you know, play and integrate it with other terrain on a board. And I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. It's exactly as I envisioned it. I had to take some shortcuts and steps in order to get everything to work, jimmy things, break things, you know, cut things, and it's finally here. And so as a celebration, I went ahead and made a bunch of little animated pictures to show off the environments and backgrounds and what they kind of allow me to do when I'm doing miniature photography. Do you use a box or backdrop for your photos? I'd love to see them. Leave links in the comments. And of course, as always, thank you to my patrons. You all are amazing. You make this show possible. And you too can find the show on Patreon. It's only $2 a month to support the show. And you can join the Discord. And when I have podcast episodes done early, I post them up early. It's just the way I do things. So, I'm trying to get subscribers and supporters. And in the end, it all sort of goes into making this a better project. I have a lot of additional things that I'd like to buy for the channel. I'm efforting some stuff that I think will be really cool and potentially game changing, but I don't want to talk about it yet. I'm going to do a whole video, I think, at the end of the year, kind of recapping my first year of YouTube and talking about my plans for the future. So look forward to catching that sometime next month. But in the meanwhile, and don't forget to check out the podcast, which is usually twice a month or so, and provides you with lots of Necromunda content. And of course, as always, everybody stay safe and don't forget to change your paint water.